This video is about the use of feature sets in ModelBuilder. This is something that I learned not too long ago, but once I did and used it for the first time, I was really excited about it. It allowed me a lot more freedom in creating interactive models and especially creating more user-friendly tools. So the first thing we need to understand before we get into ArcMap is what exactly is a feature set. A feature set allows you to create an interactive variable within your model so that when you're using your tool, you can create a set of points, your own polygon or line feature that will then act as an input into your specified tool. So rather than needing to have a feature class that's already made, you can create one on the fly here, and it'll use that as the input into your buffer or dissolve or whatever tool you're using. So I'll open up ArcMap and show you the example here. What I learned this for and what we primarily use it for is over in the WIC program, their two primary data sets is they have participants in the program and they have their vendors that provide services to those participants. And we would get requests all the time from new grocery stores or gas stations, convenience stores that wanted to become a WIC participating vendor. So in order to do so, one of the steps was to figure out how many participants and other vendors there were within a specified area of their location. And we were going around the long way around of having to create a new feature class every time and run the buffer around it and then create our selections. And so we figured we might as well automate this into a model. And the thing that really makes this flow is the feature set that we have as the input. So I'm going to show you the model and the flow that it goes through, and then I'll show you how it works. So here's my model, and essentially what we're going to do here is we have our feature set. This is our variable. It's a parameter so that when I open the tool, I can use it. And it's just a point feature class, and it allows me to put a point anywhere on the map, and then it uses that as the input into my buffer. And then it buffers my selected distance around that point. And then from here, it's just a simple selection of my existing vendors and my existing participants. And then at the end, it gives me a count of each that fall within that buffer. So pretty simple, but it really cuts down on a lot of time, especially since it was something that we would do over and over again. And as the requests came in, it would take us a few minutes to get everything set up, but with this, it was only a few seconds and we could get the numbers back out. To get a feature set up here, you simply just right click and you go to create variable, and then you find feature set. So you can see that right here, and you can just double click it and it puts it in there. You need to define it as a point, line, or polygon, and the way that you do that is you actually imitate another feature class. So you right click it and you come to properties, and then you obviously have it as a feature set already, and you say import schema and symbology from. And so what I'm going to do is, because these are both points already, I'm just going to click on one of them and say OK. You can always go find one that's existing, but you hit OK, and then it knows that it's now a point feature class. It's not going to be that test vendors that I pointed it to. It's just using that for the schema so that it knows it's a point, and it also brings the symbology over from it. You can always change that. You can come back in and import from something else if you'd like. So I'll delete that since I already have one. So you can see in this one, this one's pulling from a schema from something else that I had set, but it knows that it's a point. So I will minimize that for now, And I'll run through it so you can see I've got my test vendors and participants, which I've set in that model. If I wanted to, I could set those as parameters as well if I wanted to set them as I go, but I just come over to my potential vendor buffer feature set. I can just double click on that and it pulls up my page here. I ran this earlier, so that's why it's telling me that this exists already, but no matter, we can overwrite it. So here you can see here I've got set as my first parameter is my feature set. So I can just click on it and it automatically goes into like a create features mode. And you can see I have this point that I can place down on the map. Also I set in there, one of my variables was distance to my buffer, which I've set as 5 miles, but I'm going to change it to 1 in this case. And I'm just going to put a point right here, just the 1 point for now. And I can hit OK. And it'll run through that entire buffer and create a selection out of them, and it should place a buffer on the map. So there you go. Oops. I move this out of the way. Yeah, there's my 1 mile buffer. And you can also see in my geoprocessing results that I've got 4 participants. Get count participants was 4, and then up here, get count of vendors was 0. So if the location of my potential store was in that spot, that is the information. And if I close this too quickly and forget about that, I can always come up to geoprocessing results right here and go to my current session and open that up, and under messages it'll tell me the same thing, row count 4, row count 0. Now if I run it again, if I open this up and I want to, this will get over, I can always do multiple points if I'd like, and make it a little bigger, and it'll overwrite this existing buffer that I have, so that's not a problem. And it'll tell me, well, it's kind of a problem for the way I have this one set up, because I've only set this up really for 1 point at a time, because it gives me a row count of 75 participants, but that's for all 3 vendors combined. So I'd have to modify that tool a little bit, but you can see that how that feature set really speeds up the process, because I can just interactively put points on the map. So if you have any questions about that, here's my information. Always happy to talk about it. I like that variable a lot. And then also here's the ArcGIS resources page online for using feature sets.